The trail of the 3rd Army and the 19th Tactical Air Command of the 8th Air Force is marked by more than 40,000 white crosses, 40,000 dead Americans.
We were young and soldiers called to dedicate our lives in the name of God and country. Do what's just, boys, go do what's right. A hot band of brothers waiting on our chance to add one more page unto the victory dance. Here am I, Lord, send me, send me. Victory lies in the spirit of the lives of the men who died for me.
Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send, and who will go for us? And I said, here am I. Send me.
This is Michael Broderick, Marine Corps veteran, actor, and GallantFew board member. You are listening to the New American Veteran on Vets on Media. Now here's Carl Monger.
And good afternoon, Michael. Thank you for that introduction. Today is September 16th, 2014. Thank you for tuning in today or for listening to the podcast. TNAV is dedicated to those who said, here am I, send me. And we honor veterans, highlight those who have transitioned successfully, and identify resources that help veterans leverage their military experiences into successful and rewarding lives after the military. The New American Veteran is a broadcast of GallantFew, Inc., which is a 501c3 nonprofit. Our mission is to prevent veteran isolation by connecting new veterans with hometown veteran mentors, thereby facilitating a peaceful, successful transition from military service to a civilian life filled with hope and purpose. Our goal is to connect every new veteran with a hometown veteran mentor. We do this by creating and supporting a nationwide network of successfully transitioned veterans that engage locally with new veterans with the same military background now going through their own transition. We believe this will prevent veteran unemployment, homelessness, and suicide. We also seek to motivate communities all across the nation to take responsibility for veterans returning. I see very few, I could probably count them on one hand, maybe even with one finger, of communities out there that have an intentional written plan to welcome veterans back home to their community after they're done with their service. Does your community have a plan like that? If not, reach out, talk to me, figure out how we can motivate them.
This is live, not recorded.
Tuning into my dad's radio show. You are listening to GallantFew's The New American Veteran on the Vets on Media Network.
And today's episode is dedicated to retired Army Command Sergeant Major Bernie Adkins. And I got my guest on the line there. Hey, make sure you're muted so you don't pop up here. I'll finish the introductions and then we'll bring you on. Today's episode is dedicated to Command Sergeant Major Benny Adkins, who was recognized for his actions during 38 hours of close combat fighting against enemy forces, March 9 to 12, 1966. And yesterday he received the nation's highest award for valor from President Obama. Hey, Mylee, you're popping up on me. Mute your, if you can, mute your microphone so we won't see you quite yet. I want to keep the audience in suspense while I introduce you. Yeah, because when we pick up sound from you, then you pop up on the screen. So, and yesterday, if you didn't get a chance to watch that, you should go up and pull up and read about that retired Command Sergeant Major Benny Adkins, because his heroism, I believe they said he had killed 75 enemy soldiers. I'm going to have to mute Mylee there because she keeps popping up. Let's see if that works. Okay, Run Ranger Run 2015 is in launch mode. We've got a primary goal of raising awareness, and we need you to get involved. Go to runrangerrun.com to find out more. And Spike TV has a CrowdRise challenge going on right now to help get that started. And you can help us by going to crowdrise.com/vow challenge. That's a vow like a pledge. VOW Victor Oscar Whiskey challenge. Please look for that. Support GallantFew through that. And if you're in the Kansas City area this upcoming weekend, check out Operation Rollout, which is in the Topeka area. It's a motorcycle rally to raise awareness in the Topeka area for the Spartan Pledge and also for the work that GallantFew does for veterans. Have you taken the Spartan Pledge with a buddy? With the Battle Buddy, excuse me. Remember to take that Spartan Pledge, and I'm going to play that real quick here. Let's see if it pops up. Nope, that's not the right one. Let me jump back over to the other player. And, you know, this would not be a show if I didn't have at least one little glitch that popped up here. So let's see if I can get this guy to play for me. And it's not one to cooperate. Seems like I always have a problem when I'm trying to play one thing or the other, and this time the doggone player is not cooperating. So we'll skip that video. Maybe I'll come back to it later. But at this point, and without any further ado, I'm going to unmute her, and hopefully she'll be able to pop right back up here on the screen. And you may have to unmute yourself. While we get her online here, I'm going to say welcome, Mylee, to the New American Veteran. Mylee served in the United States Army on active duty for over 12 years and just retired spring of this year. She worked as a civil affairs specialist and instructor to entry-level soldiers, and in 2011, Mylee was selected to be one of the first women to train and deploy as part of the Army Special Operations Cultural Support Teams. She supported MARSOC and SEALs and found herself supporting these special operations units in remote parts of Afghanistan. During the deployment, she discovered a mass in her left breast, which was diagnosed as stage 3 breast cancer. Now she's a motivational speaker, fitness model, and actress. Mylee, welcome to the show. Let's see if you're live and on the air there. Can you hear me, Mylee? Maybe not. Hello, Mylee. Hello, Mylee. You're live and on the air. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? We're talking. We want to bring you online, Mylee. You know what? I bet you muted the other side. There you go. Are you with us? Can you hear me?
Hi.
Hey, Mylee. Welcome to the show. I bet you muted.
Can.
You probably muted me earlier when I said, hey, mute your broadcast. I just finished talking a little bit about you.
I did.
Your service and your deployment to Afghanistan, and how you found the mass while you were over there. And tell me a little bit about maybe why you went into the Army in the first place.
Well, I wanted to go to medical school, and growing up, I graduated early, so I knew that I wanted to go. Knew that was going to be very expensive, and it became very clear to me that I was not going to be able to afford it. So I dabbled with the idea of joining the military early on, and then right after 9/11, I actually decided that I was going to. So I signed up. I started the process in October of 2000, and when I start, in October 2001, I started paperwork, and then I shipped off in April of 2002. And so
after 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
9/11 enlistee. Well, thank you for doing that.
It's been an honor to serve.
And you talked a little bit in your bio about training soldiers. Did you serve as a drill instructor, or what was your training role?
Yes, toward the end of my career, I got picked up at the schoolhouse at Fort Bragg for special operations to be an instructor. The position was titled drill instructor. I know it's a Marine term, but they got rid of the actual drill sergeants in the school portion, the AIT portion, training a long time ago.
That shows my age.
So I was an instructor. I enjoyed every minute of it. There's something different. There's something, you learn a lot about yourself and about your leadership style when you're in charge of large masses of people, but also you're in charge of the everyday aspect of their life, making sure their morale and welfare is taken care of, as well as their education, and you're preparing them for the rest of their career. You are initially the second after basic training leader that they will encounter in the beginning of their career.
Now, you spent quite a bit of time, first off, I'm jumping way ahead of myself. Go back into, from special operations side, as you're doing this training for these soldiers, is that where you got selected to be part of that cultural support team?
Yes, the message came down while I was, I think, my second second or third year at the schoolhouse that they had started this program. First time around, I didn't want to do it. I'll be honest. Myself and one other female, my platoon sergeant I was there with, we didn't want to just be, the term we use was cheerleaders for special operations, because there wasn't a lot of work going into getting these females ready for this trip, and it was just something that was like a good idea fairy moment. So I refused to go the first time, and I say refused, but it was a choice. I chose not to do selection. And so when it came back around halfway through the first rotation's deployment, my commander sat me down and said that, the colonel wants to talk to me. So I go in and speak to the colonel, and he pulled on the educational strings aspect, my mentoring side, and he asked me why I didn't want to do it, and I gave him my reasons, and he said, he's like, what is it that you always tell people is, the only way to fix a problem is to work at it and to make it better and come up with solutions. And he's like, so you have all these problems with this program. He's like, well, you're at the schoolhouse, so why not go through the selection, go through the training, and then go on the deployment, and then you come back and you'll actually be one of the instructors. So you will be, that's a huge part of fixing problems is figuring out where they start from. So I went ahead and volunteered for it and went through selection, and yeah. Good time.
And if you want, we can talk a little bit about that selection process, but I'm wondering, in terms of what happened when you actually got on the ground and you were in Afghanistan and you're working with these MARSOC and other special operations teams, was that what you expected? Do you think that your selection and training helped prepare you for that?
Well, I would say that I've worked with these guys for a long time before this because of being civil affairs. So I was already used to the personalities, used to everything. I had a little bit of an advantage. Myself and a couple of the other women that were out there had an advantage over some of the other females because we had worked with special operations for a while, supporting them. I will say, as a leader and as an instructor there, and I said this to my command, that the training was lacking. Some of the females went over there based off of solely what they were told in the schoolhouse, that they were going over there to do these CST-focused missions. And, when the hearts and minds, when in all actuality, our job was to kind of fill a gap. Because of the cultural differences over there, they're working up from this bottom-up approach. The village stability operation is what we were supporting. So these special operation guys were living at the village level, trying to promote governance and security at the lowest level possible. Because up until this point, we had been doing that top-down approach. And, that doesn't always work. So, Big Command decided to get back to grassroots of what these guys are good at and embed them in the villages and have them train the local Afghan police and vet them and try to establish that foothold within the community so that when things were going wrong, the villagers would trust them enough to let them know, or would band together to, transition from that wild west aspect to an actual functioning government of some sorts. So the females going over there, the actual job was to integrate with the team, work with the team, and fill that cultural gap. Because females, the men could reach only could reach that 50% of the population, whereas with us, we could help them reach 100% of the population. The males at the local national males considered us the third gender. They didn't know what to think of us because here we are moving with these guys we called our brothers, but we have pants on, we were shooting weapons, that sort of thing. So it intrigued them. Some wouldn't talk to us, but most would. The women, of course, we were able to talk to them once we took off our helmets and put on a hijab and show respect for the culture. So the job essentially was not to go over there and burn burqas or empower. Our job was to bridge an intel gap. Our job was to gain access, build rapport, so that we could gather information and help the teams on the ground establish their goal, which was to promote governance and security.
The men don't have access. You can't even. I have not been to Afghanistan, so I don't have the base of personal experience to draw from. But my understanding is that the women won't speak to men that are outside their family over there. So you said the men can only reach half of the population. That's exactly what happens. Is you end up with a very capable combat team that only has half the information, and that might not even be the actual deal. But when you interject a female into that relationship or into that team, now you have access to the other half of the population, and you may be finding out information that the men may not have the exact same story that are going to the soldiers that you're working with. So that's got to be an incredible fulfilling responsibility to have in part of that team, but it has also got to be kind of scary. And how did, when you first stepped foot out there with those teams, were they pretty eager to bring you along? Did you have to kind of fight to prove yourself to them, or how did that work?
Were they eager to bring us to get two females they've never met to go out on missions with them that they didn't train?
Well, they wouldn't want to bring anybody along on a mission.
Well, I'll say this much. For the more mature special operations guys, they saw the need for it. However, by the time we got over there, there was so much drama had happened with the previous rotation of females that they were very road weary and had their limit of female drama, because they've been doing this job for years without females on the ground, or they've been pulling from those regular units, just pulling a female when they need them. So it's kind of one of those situations where is the drama amount of benefits versus, you know, I don't know how to word that, but it's basically, is this really worth all the drama I'm dealing with? Am I getting enough out of this? So when we got on the ground, the teams that we were with in the north, they had been in country for almost, oh my God, 10 months. And this was their second time in the same location. So they were just like done. So they're professionals. So when we got to them, there's always a learning curve. But myself and my teammate, we were pretty mature. And when we got to them, I do my Kate's brief like this when I get to them. I am not special operations. I don't have any illusions to being special operations. So when I meet these guys, because I've worked with them, the first thing I do is tell them I'm an enabler. My job is to support your mission. There is no Mylee mission. There is no Team CST 12 mission. We are here to help you accomplish your goals and your missions pushed down by higher. Now, if we have an idea that we can do something that can help you fill an intel gap, then we'll tell you. But until then, our job is to support this team, and that's in all aspects of support. Whether it's cooking, something, working on vehicles, whatever it is, we're here to support you guys. You're enablers. And sometimes I think that some of the women that these men had worked with before, they came in with this inflated ego that they were there, that they were special operations, and that they were that this was their mission. And that's and I will have to say that problem was a mixture of some females not paying attention and fixing themselves, and then the other half was the leadership at the schoolhouse not being completely clear, because it's an advertising thing, right? If I try to sell you on airborne school and I say, hey, okay, so I want you to go to airborne school, but here's the deal. The real story is that we don't jump into combat anymore, and you will get paid $150. However, you're going to have to do crazy night jumps. You're going to be stuck on shoot detail. You could break your legs. It sucks all in all, but is $150 really worth it? If I sold airborne school to you like that, would you go? No. So when they set this program up, if you read the marketing strategy, what's that?
I said I'm weird though, so maybe.
I went knowing all this.
Yeah.
But so when they did this marketing strategy, they pushed female, go out there and work with special operations, fill this intel gap, help us establish security and governance in foreign countries. It was selling like, do you want to be the greatest? And so these females went over there, the regular Army or National Guard or Reserves that never did this, and we had some amazing females come in. But there's always that onesies, twosies that if you don't clarify what the mission is, of course these women are going to go over there, and you already have an uphill battle in front of you because you're a female. And you forget the vagina part, excuse me, but forget the fact that you're a female. You're a new person going into a team of people who've been working together for months, who've trained together, who've been into battles. You're already in an uphill battle, right? So in order to prepare these females, the questions that the command should have been asking is they should have pulled from, I'm a huge advocate of teaching from experience. So in a perfect world, if I was Sergeant Major of the Army, I would have pulled these special operations guys and these operators to the schoolhouse, sat them down, let them create the curriculum, and let them say, what's the best way we can prepare these females for what they're going to be doing? It's not glamorous. I was searching women that smelled really bad sometimes in very permissive areas, sometimes under really pressured situations. And then other times we did nothing. And I made the call a couple times that if we're not needed on this mission, there's no point for us to go. Send us somewhere else. That didn't get received very well by a couple of the females I worked with. But I have a kid. My attitude was this: I have a child at home. I'm deployed. I'm here to work. I don't want to sit around. And so the problem that we ran into with a lot of it was, we got to the team. You're dealing with these men who seen the worst side of this program. So some of them, when we got there, our team was very great. We didn't get to train with them, but because they had a mission, we had a 3-day off. So our first mission was 3 days. Never met these guys before. Met them the night before the mission when they came in, and then so I understood the fear on their part, but I understood that there's this desire for me to, I don't want to say prove myself, but prove to be an asset versus an anchor to this team. We went out there, we did the mission, we came back, and immediately myself and my partner asked, is there anything that we could have done better? And they were honest. They're like, honestly, I mean, it was great to have you guys there, but we've done this mission many times before, so we could have done it without you. However, the information you got, that told us we need to prove ourselves to be more of an asset. And that's where embodying their mission, which was to gather information, get positive identification, search the women. The women lie. That was the most fun part of my job on these clearing operations was I got to catch them.
Come on.
Goodness, those women talk and they lie, and sometimes they're so sad because they're so ignorant to certain things. So sometimes it's frustrating. It's like being a mom when you're questioning these women because the story changes over and over, and I'm just like, ah. And so the team guys were excited to have us dealing with that drama. And it took us a while, but they had us go out on the range and we qualified. We pushed them to train us on other aspects from outside of what we learned at the schoolhouse. It was very evident what we did at the schoolhouse did not quite prepare us for the tactical side of things. Myself and my partner are fortunate because we were already in the community, so we had the training to back it up. But yeah, so it was definitely a transition. There was a time, there was a little bit of an equalizing time and trying to balance it. But I think my team, we integrated pretty well. We did prove to be an asset in the beginning, but I'm a true believer, if you're not working and helping them, if you're not making the situation better, then there's no reason for them to be sucking up air and space that could be there for enabler. So all in all, it was a great rotation. I learned so much about personality, and I would do it again in a minute. There's definitely some things I would change, but if I had the opportunity, I would go back again in a minute with them.
Now, while you were over there, that's when you discovered the mass. How long? There's a comment that in your bio that I keyed in on because it's very common among a lot of the soldiers and sailors that I work with leaving active duty. And you said, quote, in her mind being sick is a sign of weakness. So you hide the fact that you're sick. And as you're going through treatment, you're expert on putting on makeup and wigs because you don't want to show that sign of weakness. I'm interested in learning a little more about that. But then how long did you deal with it before you actually left the field and came back?
So we deployed in August, and I found it in early November. We had just come back from a mission. Overnight, most of our stuff starts early morning. We get back really late. And after every mission, you have to help break things down, clean up things, debrief, do whatever. But the goal in your mind is, priority is the work. Take care of what I didn't take care of so I can go eat, and then I can shower. So we went through all that, and then after I showered, I kind of just was drying off, and I felt something. And not to be gross, but reality is when you're out there, you're exposed to all kinds of nastiness. And so I thought maybe it was dirt, or maybe like a boil or something stuck on my skin. So I naturally went back to it, and it was just this weird ping pong mass. And so I didn't think much of it because for 10 years I've avoided the anthrax shot and smallpox. This deployment, they caught me. They have this new process of usually I can get away with that because I have a latex allergy. Somehow they caught me, and in the line getting on my shot before deployment, I felt someone poke my arm. I was like, whoa! So I thought maybe the mask was a response to something, the malaria medication or something. So I immediately just thought it was a fluid-filled mask. I didn't want to complain. Didn't want to say anything about it because those kind of things, if it's significant enough for you to mention it, then you want someone to do something about it. Sure. And then they'd medevac me out and send me home, and I wouldn't want to leave country for a fluid-filled mask that would go away. So I left it alone. Later on in the month, I did tell my teammate, because she's a physician's assistant. I didn't make a big deal about it. I told her, I'm not worried. I just want to let you know. And she's like, okay, it's probably the same. I didn't think about it again until December. And December, of course, on Christmas, missing family, I felt it was bigger, and it was actually, I could grab it, hold it like this, and move it around. So it was weird. I did mention it again, and so we were just making a note of the size and everything. But again, I didn't want to go home because at that point we were so. If I left, my partner would have to leave because they're not going to leave one female out there, or she would get paired with someone who someone she didn't want to work with, which would make it ineffective. So nor did again. And then in January, the guys ended up going on a mission, and it was a rough one. We couldn't go with them. We were left back behind to man the radio. So for 17 hours, we got to listen on the radio to everything that was happening. We ended up losing quite a few Afghan commandos in this mission, and then we lost one of our guys that night. So the guys came back, packed up his stuff, went back. We went back to, we didn't lose him that night. He was really critically injured. He ended up passing away from his injuries later on, but everybody was a mess. We were upset, because we're like, oh, we should have been there, knowing full well we couldn't have done anything, but you have that, I'm listening on the radio, but I can't do anything about it.
Yeah, that's
so we went, yeah. So we went back to base for Memorial. We flew, it's like a 30 minute to an hour flight back to our big base for Memorial service for Ben. And in that moment, when you lose someone that you just, a couple days before, we're having a conversation about what he was going to do when he gets out. You start thinking about your own mortality. And so in that moment, I started thinking more about this. And, you're not supposed to do this. So I brought it up again. I had my teammate check it. She was a little bit concerned, but again, we're in a place, can't do much, not in the equipment, and so I decided to mention it to get it because we need a documentation. If something happens overseas and you don't have proof of it, you can't say that it happened overseas, right?
Right, yeah.
So,
well, they prove that later.
I mentioned it to, right, so I mentioned it to the Delta on the ground, and here's the thing about boobs and women. We don't react very much when it comes to boobs. But if you tell a dude that there's a problem with boobs, they react. It's like the world is ending. So I told the medics at the camp that, okay, so got this problem with my back, but oh, by the way, this is giant ping pong mass in my left breast. I just wanted to tell you so I could document it. And he's like, what? Gosh, and he's just like, no, I'm going to fix this. And, came to the conclusion that even if I got an ultrasound, no one could read it because it was on the German camp. And even if I was I didn't want to be medevaced out because the only way to deal with it would be to be medevaced and go to Germany. Hindsight, I should have, but whatever. Dealt with it. We didn't come home. We only had about 75 days left after choice against their advice to stick it out. And I felt like I've come this far. There's no reason to go home. It would be seriously disappointing to go home for some stupid fluid-filled mask. The long and short of it is that my hard-headed, that fine line between hard and another word, is definitely in effect that day. And so I stuck it out. And I don't have any regrets for doing that. But, yeah. We came home in March, and about 3 days after we got home, I met with the group surgeon. The group surgeon pushed for a consult ASAP. and no one, they didn't, the hospital didn't respond. They wanted me to wait till June, was as soon as they could get me in for an ultrasound.
Wow.
I decided to, yeah, that was my reaction. But the command wanted me to fight, and I was just like, you know what, I've been gone too long, I don't want to fight. So I went off post and paid $80 that I didn't have to get an ultrasound. And just so I could have something to take into sick call and just put in their face and say, here. And that's how it happened. A few weeks after I got the ultrasound, after being home, I was given my paperwork back saying surgical consult ASAP, results are inconclusive, but it kind of points in the direction of cancer. So did that. Within that day, I went to sick call. That morning, that afternoon, I was in the breast clinic. That evening, I was having a mammogram and an ultrasound, and I had a soft diagnosis and then a biopsy the following day.
And how long was it? They had they knew definitely what it was.
Within 2.5 weeks, I went home on block leave to visit my daughter and get her ready, and probably so probably within 3 weeks I had actual lab results back of stage 3C breast cancer.
So what, can I ask, what's the prognosis? What are they saying?
Right now I'm still undergoing some treatment, and I'm being a bad patient. I was supposed to go in for a biopsy, and I haven't scheduled it yet because we found another mass that they're concerned about.
No, you're not.
But it's kind of, I know,
you're not in the field now. You can go get that checked.
I know, but once you get those results, sometimes, because with me, I'm an extremist, so I did everything I could to reduce my risk factors. But no matter what I do, I'm still, according to my doctor, I'm still at that 80% chance of it coming back because of how far my staging was, and it was already in my lymph nodes. And even after treatment, they still had one lymph node come back with some cancer, with signs of cancer in it. So for me, I know that I need to go, and I'm still undergoing some treatment right now, but I'm taking it one step at a time. I'm not ready for bad news quite yet, so I'm getting my mind right. But within the next couple weeks, I should be scheduled I'm waiting for an appointment to have my biopsy done. So sorry, Mom, if you're watching this, I didn't tell you that.
Breaking news.
My poor mother.
Through all of that, I'm amazed at the things that you have accomplished with competing in fitness competitions and the modeling, and you have some phenomenal photos. And that, how did you get started from that? I saw one picture where a couple of years ago you looked like a completely different person, and if you stood next to yourself from a couple of years ago, you wouldn't say that's the same person. So how did you go through this transformation while you're dealing with all this?
It was forced on me. I've always been a positive person. I've been a single mom for 10 years, well, almost 10 years now. So I've being positive and not focusing so much on the drama as much as I'm focusing on finding solutions and being happy has always been, in me. But I think because of something I went through, childhood-wise, I found out some stuff about myself, and it pushed me to be stronger and defy all these odds. And then I dealt with a sexual assault and a kidnapping in 2009, and I had just gotten in with working with special operations, and these guys were starting to trust me, and the people I worked with looked at me as a part of their, I don't want to say team because I wasn't on a team, it was crazy, but part of their group, someone they could trust to support them, someone that they knew listened and took direction well and retained the training that they gave them. And when the assault happened, it was automatically, they looked at me like they had that, instead of looking at me like, hey, it's Mylee, that's our badass friend, it's, oh my God, she's human, she's a victim, oh, what do I do to protect her? And I didn't want that. So when I was diagnosed, I rushed through everything. I was like, it's like I told my mother that I had cancer, as if I was telling her that the alternator blew out my car, and I was going through the steps on how I was going to replace an alternator. That's exactly how I told her. That's why I said sorry on this one, because again, she's hearing something. Oops. However, for me, the transition, I've been through a lot: weight loss, the assault, abuse, that sort of thing. So I handled it the only way I knew how, which was to focus on what I needed to do next, which was recover. And I guess I couldn't see talent being weak. It took me until I did an interview with Jeremy from Manning Up USA, and in that interview of March 2013, it's the first time I admitted, I said I had cancer, and I said it in a way that I didn't feel. It's like I came to terms with my mortality. The whole beginning of my treatment, I hid my cancer. I hid how bad it was. I, didn't talk to anybody about the negative side about what could happen. It was more, all I have to do is get through this treatment as quick as possible, and I'll be normal and back on deployment or back out there doing my job or being a fit mom or whatever it was. So those things, my life led me to being able to handle it the way I have. I guess I don't know if I'm answering the question, but I didn't know any other way to deal with it, because negativity doesn't help anyone. At least it wouldn't have helped me. So I pushed myself to...
You keep talking, but I want to go through a couple of the photos that you gave.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, I utilized my military training and the fact that I never wanted my daughter to see how bad it was. But I learned very quickly that control is a huge thing. When you're going through anything like this, traumatic like this, you have no control over it, or that's how it feels. With cancer, your body is waging war against you, and the only way that you can establish some sort of control is, they say you control your treatment, but you don't. There's already a protocol in place for your specific type of cancer. And so the only way I knew how to have any control of it was to know my treatment, know my cancer, get to know my enemy, know who I was fighting, how we were going to fight it. And then the gym. The gym was huge for me, because I had no control over anything, but I could go into the gym before chemotherapy and bust out a workout and feel like I accomplished something before I go into chemo. And then I do the same thing afterwards, because I felt like I was showing cancer something. Like, haha, you might take, you're taking my hair, you're taking my boobs, you're taking over my life right now, but I still can fight back and control how fit I am, The modeling, I used to model when I was younger, and it wasn't for me, because in the beginning, because of reality, I wanted a job, and it's just something that is not, at the time wasn't accessible to me. So I went into the military, but throughout my career, there's been opportunities to model or do some hosting or voiceover work. And a couple years ago, I started sharing. A friend of mine did a mini documentary. She set it up because her nephew is an amazing designer. It's Alexander Sanchez, and he's here in LA. Amazing thing for me, and Alex made me a dress for my last military ball, and Leia set it up to where they would do like a mini documentary on it, on my treatment and everything. And at that point, I realized how therapeutic it was to share my story for me, because I didn't have many, people to lean on. I had a very new, close-knit group of friends, very new friends. So I started sharing on my personal page, which was very small and very private, and people started asking if they could share with friends, and so it got bigger and bigger, and then I did a couple modeling things, some campaigns for breast cancer, and then just kind of went from there. And I started, with the help of a few people like Mama Cat and a few other people that are, Facebook savvy, and Miss Heaven and a couple other ladies. They motivated me to start a public page and make videos and share more of my journey, because the biggest problem with going through any type of cancer treatment is there's so much out there. There's so many blogs and there's people. Every person's experience is completely different. But the one thing that no one does, or not many people do, is they share the good, the bad, the ugly. I decided to, if I was going to be this inspirational, motivator person, that I was going to share. I was going to be completely transparent. When I had a bad day, I would tell them. When I had a good day, I'd tell them. I'm never going to act like things are perfect. That's not who I am. So it kind of exploded from there. I started making these videos going step by step through my treatment because I didn't have that going through it. And it's exploded into something that's amazing for me. And what people do message me and they tell me, I had to learn how to say you're welcome. Because people used to think, I'm like, no, you did it. And then someone told me, that's for them. When they say thank you, that's for them. Don't take that from them. So I turn around and I tell people that I think that I would love for you guys to understand how much they do for me. Allowing me to share my story, allowing me to be so transparent is huge for my therapy, for my recovery, including PTSD, because not many veterans are willing to share. You see the worst side of PTSD, but you don't see strong people who've done things, and like Rangers and infantry guys. Not many of them will come forward and talk about PTSD. And I was in that group of soldiers that was taught that PTSD is for weak-minded people, and that if you're at Fort Bragg, everybody knows what the 6th floor is. Yeah, so I decided that I realized I was diagnosed with severe PTSD, combat-related and traumatic, because I never dealt with the assault. Right when I was going through my treatment, everything hit. I decided to go to therapy because I was semi-forced to go. And in that moment, when you hear someone tell you, "Child, you're suffering from severe PTSD," I'm like, "No, I'm not. That's not even a real thing." So I
not welcome.
Right. And those are the things that I wish people would know. I want people who follow me and who support me and who message me to know that I started out doing this for me, and now I do it to help other people. But at the same time, it's still therapeutic for me. It's still helping me recover because every single time I tell my story, I learn something new about myself. And I encourage people to tell their story in their own time, when they're ready to tell their story, even if it's just writing it down, because sometimes you have to hear what you've been through to realize how strong you are to make it through it, and realize that everyone copes. There's no book or there's no set way someone is supposed to react to any situation. And I would love to see more people, especially veterans, especially those war-torn veterans, those badass guys and women, start telling the story, because they have people who look up to them. And I've had several of my soldiers message me or text me or call me and say, I never would have known you went through those things. And I feel like I told myself that was a failure on my part. Not that I had to tell you all my business, but I should have been able to sit down and tell you as your leader that, yeah, I struggle too. Whether it's I struggle emotionally, sometimes I don't want to be here, sometimes I don't want to deal with any of this stuff. I feel like leaders should be able to admit to their subordinates. They're not. You don't have to go out there and tell all your flaws, because there are those few that will look at you and say, "Oh, I don't want to follow that person anymore." But I think that they're in this war that we're fighting right now. I think that it would encourage them to be more, to affect their human and understand that our minds can only handle so much, and we all cope with things differently. I handle stress very well. Other men in the military, women in the military handle combat issues very well. But there are those other ones who can't. And instead of feeling these soldiers feeling inferior or feeling like they're not up to par with what a soldier should be or a service member should be, at least they could hear it from someone that, hey, I struggle too, I just cope with it differently, I have ways of dealing, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So that's what I've learned from sharing my experience, that it started out as me reaching out to myself, and then it's turned into something amazing, and the opportunity to model and act and be on shows like this is a huge honor for me. It's something I never saw myself doing in a million years. I saw myself being that crusty sergeant major getting kicked out of the military in 26 years.
Yeah, we always say, and I said it in the beginning, that there's two things that you've got to have in your life, and that's hope and a purpose. And if you don't have that, then you start sinking down into that area where, why should I keep on living? Because I have no purpose. I'm not affecting anything or anybody. And you're doing a fantastic job of that. 100,000 plus 111,000, I think, Facebook fans, of which I am one. I figured out when I finally found your page again. I follow so many pages, I can't always find the ones I'm trying to look at. But is there, run through your sites again so people know your Twitter page, your Facebook, and then is there anything media-wise or any acting that you're doing that's coming up that you can tell people to watch for?
Well, okay, so media-wise, right now I have the Facebook page, which is facebook.com/MyleeYC. And then same thing with Instagram and Twitter. Still learning Twitter. I like it. It's a little bit, it's fun, but it's hard to cram things into 140 characters. It's frustrating. So those are Instagram and Twitter are the same thing at MyleeYC. My Instagram is more, I post pictures, but I post like workout videos and things like that on there as well. Let's see. Website is under construction right now. I'm learning how to code. That's fun. I'm hard-headed. Someone offered to do it for me, and I just would no, I want to learn. So website's going to be MyleeYC.com. And then as far as future things coming up, I have the opportunity to be on a morning talk show in October, which is going to be fun. It's called Every Woman Way. And I'm doing this with you, and then I have a few more podcast opportunities coming up. I do have a magazine, a big magazine I'm quite proud of. That's my story is coming out in October. I can't tell what it is yet, but it'll hit stands soon. And Facebook or email me when that happens so I can share that with everybody too. I sure will. And then as far as acting goes, I am right now currently in the musical Wizard of Oz here in LA, and then I am in rehearsals for the musical Pinocchio, that I'm playing the cricket. So it's definitely different for being an instructor in the military or supporting special operations guys. But I get to be a different character, and it's fun to tap into that creative side because I've spent 12 years being a tactical and technical expert in my field. So now I get to be creative and be who I used to be, have a little bit of who I used to be in there. That's awesome, Mylee. Yeah, I appreciate you being on the show today. I'm going to have to go because I've got to do a couple more things before the hour is up. But it's been a treat having you on the show. Thanks for your service. And thank you for the example that you're setting. It's been an honor. Everything that you're doing to help other people, it's phenomenal. And next time I get out to Los Angeles, I'll look you up and we'll go grab lunch or something if your schedule works. Definitely. And thank you for what you're doing, too. I'm a huge supporter of anything that's encouraging veterans to not fall into that dark spot. I mean, when you come out of the military, I had a good friend who said it the best way. You're like a compass spinning. You don't know where to go because you're not doing the same thing, and you have that sense of I've lost my team. So I appreciate people like you who serve and veterans or people who have never served that are doing things to encourage veterans to. You're promoting and sharing stories of veterans who haven't allowed their situations to define where the rest of their life goes. So thank you, and thank you for your service too. With that airborne thing going on back there. Of the compass, I show this off every once in a while. I have a compass that my great uncle carried in World War I in France when he was a corporal in the 89th Division, and that reminds me. And it spins pretty freely now because it's really old. It's like a 100-year-old compass, but that always reminds me, where's that true north? Where's that purpose? And I want to keep on encouraging others to find that and follow it themselves. Yeah, I appreciate that, and I'm honored to be on, so thank you so much for having me. Mylee, thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to say goodbye to Mylee now, and you're welcome to hang out there if you want for a little while. I'll just mute you so you can watch a few more pieces of the show. I'm going to
I'm going to play this video that I was unsuccessful at playing before, but now I think I got it figured out.
They teach you a lot in the service. They teach you how to stand straight and fire your rifle. They teach you respect and survival. They teach you how to take a life and how to give your own. What they don't teach you is what happens when you come home. There are over 2 million people in the U.S. Armed Forces. For some, coming home is the hardest part. As a veteran, you are not alone. Reach out, call a battle buddy, and take the Spartan Pledge today. For more information, visit us on the web at descendantsofsparta.com.
I want to thank again Doton Bayer, who's a Ranger veteran, for putting that together. While I've got the video player working, I'm going to see if I can go open up this other video. This is a video that one of my board members sent to me today. And GallantFew helped sponsor one of the Rangers that participated in this.
K2 is an organization that focuses on empowering people with some type of a challenge. We're re-empowering veterans. We're recreating that bond, because now you're climbing a mountain and you're showing returning veterans that there are good civilians, you can form a new bond with new people, and life can go on. That's why K2 is such a powerful foundation, and that's why coming together and climbing like this is so important.
K2 Adventures is a challenge. They have different places to go that are challenging. And I think that appeals to people that have a military background. You come in, you have a challenge, and you prepare for that challenge. And then you meet up with people like you that want to, tackle some challenges. And that builds that kind of camaraderie that you see in the military. And it's hard to explain to civilians. But K2's adventures, they're much like a military operation. They're very organized. People come together. It's teamwork. And there's a lot of people that have similar interests. And they bond together.
The drive and the dedication that these individuals have were very impressive. And it was a very special opportunity for me because I hadn't been a part of that. And to put us together in a situation that we are challenged, they're leaders. They will encourage you through the hard times. And what better person to have along your side than a veteran that has endured so much?
Well, my personal belief is the more that it sucks and the more horrible it is, the stronger the bonds. When you're hurting really bad and seeing the guys next to you hurting just as bad, it builds strong bonds. Getting out of the military, you really miss that. Military life is so structured, it's so regimented, and then all of a sudden there's nothing. Do whatever you want to do, it's fine. And it's kind of scary. And so I think it's important for military to be able to transition. They need some kind of hope. They need something to do, something to focus on.
So when we get out, we go back in society, a lot of people miss that discipline, single focus, and that unity and that camaraderie. And it takes a while to adjust to that.
They come back and they realize they're different. They realize society doesn't understand them, but they also don't know how to bridge that gap. And so a lot of them disconnect.
People go into the military for a lot of different reasons. They have a lot of different experiences, and you meld together, okay? And you become a team. And you're not working for these grandiose philosophical things that politicians talk about. You're working for the people that you're with.
And this is why the team approach is so important, because if the team focuses on the mission, then everybody makes the climb and is successful. That's the whole idea behind a bond. A military bond, the K2 climbing bond, it's about a team, and it's about team success, not individual success. Therefore, everyone is successful. You still need intensity, you still need some danger, you need some challenge, and you also got to get away. You spend 2-3 weeks away, and it's 10, 20, 50 below zero. Sometimes there's 50, 100-mile-an-hour winds, and you're doing things that the normal person doesn't do, and that empowers you. Like in our situation, we went during the rainy season so we could summit on Veterans Day, and it rained pretty much the first 3 days, and it sucked. It was horrible, but call me strange, but I enjoy it. I like to be in those situations because I like to see true character revealed, And it doesn't take long when it's raining on you and all your stuff's wet to see how people are. You know, and there's some good guys on our climb, and we became good friends very quickly. And there is no higher order than service. When you actually get to a place where people need, Americans have a lot of needs too. We have poor people right here. Sometimes you got to see the rest of the world to understand your own world. K2 has provided a great opportunity for these kids, and Kevin and KRISTEN coming out physically there to help them, to provide for them, to keep them going so that they can have an education, they can have an understanding, a learning. It's making everyone's life better, and it was really, really great experience.
It gives you that pride again that you're doing something. And that's the same way it is, in my opinion, in the military. You're given a piece of yourself. You don't have to do it, but you do it, okay? And you feel good about yourself when you're done. And so it's rewarding. It's intrinsically rewarding.
That's what I think is so important about this. You get spiritually recalibrated, then you go get physically recalibrated, and then you come home ready to conquer the world. That's the essence of veterans working with the K2 Foundation.
It's important because it gives people an opportunity to be more than they are. Okay, that's what makes it important. They help people, they improve people's lives, but the people that participate, it allows them, okay, to do things to make them more than they are. They really do a good job, and it speaks well of KRISTEN and Kevin, and the way they approach it. But they are certainly, if somebody's going to heaven, those two probably will.
They're a full spectrum organization, and I just see by being associated and helping them helps the world, and that's how it changes my life, right? When I can do something for another person, I've done a little bit of good in the world, and we're supposed to do that.
Hey, so we were proud to be able to sponsor one of those veterans that made that climb last year, and Frank CAMPANARO is a GallantFew board member. So we're looking at more ways that we can be involved in that, and how we might be able to. We continue to talk. I talk about all the time the importance of one-on-one mentoring. One veteran, just like a veteran, same branch of service, same MOS, same skill set, same civilian occupation even. And if we could have one veteran pair from each branch of the service and have, count the Coast Guard in there too, they probably don't see many mountains, but we could work that out. So you've got 10 that are taking this challenge on, and I think it would really be a great illustration of how it is so important for that veteran that's transitioning to be connected with someone that he or she identifies with, respects, understands, and communicate with, and can challenge. It's incredibly important for that to happen. I'm going to a couple of highlights today. First, Mylee, what a great story, what a great person. I'm really glad that she was on the show today, and I really had no technical errors, so that is about as unusual as anything else can possibly be.
Hi, this is Jay Irwin. I'm an Army veteran, and you're listening to The New American Veteran on Vets on Media.
And Jay Irwin has been a GallantFew volunteer for the last couple of years and become a very good friend of mine. And he just started his brand new job in Wichita, Kansas at the Social Security Administration, where he is helping other people find their benefits, hope and a purpose. That's what makes life complete. And if you don't find hope and a purpose at your day job, then find some place where you can volunteer where you can do that. I had a conversation with somebody yesterday about the veteran serving nonprofit world. I'm not concerned about competition from anybody, whether it's in putting together a veteran breakfast, whether it's in putting together a mentoring program, an anti-suicide platform like Descendants of Sparta. Bring it on. Let's help more and more and more and more veterans. I have said over and over and over again since I started GallantFew 5 years ago, this is not mine. This belongs to our community, and it needs to do the things that will benefit our community and help our community, meaning veterans, integrate and transition into the greater community of which we're all a part of, which is United States citizens. We need all the help we can get to pull that off, and we need all kinds of good ideas and all different kinds of people participating. So, Jay, congratulations on your job, and well done. Just a couple last things here, and let me, don't want to show that one. Let me do this one here because that's got our contact information, website, and stuff on there. I do want to say that I was very pleased to see last week that the New American Veteran trademark came through. So GallantFew, the New American Veteran, and Run Ranger Run are marks now registered in the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. Now, we're not doing that because we don't want anybody else to use them. We're doing that because we don't want anybody else to abuse them. So we can ensure that those things do not get misused. Well, God bless the United States of America. God bless the men and women that guard our nation's freedom. God bless those men and women that have stood in that breach and have guarded it and defended it up to now. And may God strengthen and empower and raise those youngsters that are going to be doing it tomorrow. And as always, I have to put a special plug in. God bless and protect those men and the women that serve alongside the men of the 75th Ranger Regiment. That beautiful rendition of Taps is a public domain recording created by a soldier or employee of the United States Army and as such is not eligible for copyright protection in the United States. Kenny Thomas' song Send Me is used by permission of Kenny Thomas. All other work or recording is original work or used by permission. This has been a presentation of GallantFew's The New American Veteran on the Vets on Media Global Network.